All right, so now we are on to new and miscellaneous business. Item 1, mayor proposal for ordinance development for the creation of a racial and social equity commission. Adam, do you speak to this and then I do, or how do you want to do this?
I could give maybe a quick process piece and then hand it over if you'd like. Or
that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So as I put together the council communication, the meat of this item, Mayor Akins can speak to, and it was the attachment that makes up kind of the intent and concept of this new commission. What I was trying to focus on here for council's benefit is the process by which we would go through the creation of a new commission. And they are created via ordinance. So it's a development of a full, complete set of scope and charge and membership, that all of our commissions have. It's in Chapter 2 of our municipal code. And that is a first and second reading that is required by council. And in addition, there is a section in our municipal code called the Uniform Policies and Operating Procedures for Advisory Commissions and Boards. And that is kind of the guidepost that has kind of what the council liaison does, the role of staff, kind of some of the consistent foundational work that all commissions adhere to. So those are the combination of process elements that would be worked through in this. And of course, the request is to direct the city manager and city attorney to begin in earnest the work to develop that actual ordinance language. And the way I've worded the motions is utilizing the framework and the concept document that Mayor Akins provided gives us a large head start in how we would formulate ordinance language. That's all.
All right. Thank you very much, Adam. I'll open it up to comments and questions. I just wanted to speak to it briefly and just say that based on the work that Councillor Graham and former Councillor Slattery and Rosenthal did regarding the equity resolution, this feels very much in line with the values that this council has already adopted and discussed, and that this community has often discussed values of equity in terms of racial equity, but also social equity, which means everybody. I received feedback around ageism. Of course, we want to look at those issues of poverty. It's all written there. It seems to me that this is already the stated value of this body and of the community. And this is a way of bringing it forward and keeping us on track, giving us that information to know how we're doing in terms of our hiring processes, our development of housing, our policing, and all areas where equity is an important lens to look through. And so my attempt here is to involve the community and our residents and our voters in this process, and to just hold us accountable and keep informing us. We don't know what's going to happen with this commission as they delve into these issues. We don't know if they're going to come back and give us an A on our report card, or if we're going to have a C and have work ahead. But we want to begin with a truthful baseline that helps us sort out where we are and where we need to be. And that's why I brought this forward. So I hope that I can count on you for your full and fair consideration of this potential commission. All right, I'm on to comments and questions. Anybody? Oh yes, Councillor Graham.
So I have a couple of questions for Adam. When we were putting the original social equity and racial justice resolution together, we specifically didn't create a commission. We didn't go down that path because we didn't have the staffing support during the COVID emergency to be able to support that. And because there is a question before this council about its commissions in general, and we know that there is a need to assess our commission structure. And so we didn't move that forward. We had also heard from members of the BIPOC community that the strain from COVID was so intense that there were capacity limitations in terms of the people who do this equity work in town. So it may be that some of that's different, but I'm wondering in terms of the staffing capacities to support this. I see in the proposal it mentions having a secretary take the minutes, but in my experience with commissions, that's done by a city staffer. So can you speak to the staffing capacity right now?
Sure. Yeah, it is always a challenge, and that is a kind of an ongoing conversation that council has discussed and not necessarily danced around, but we haven't prioritized really diving in for a number of years how we deal with our commissions and that growing number. Staffing in this case, I think Mayor Akins had talked with police chief about his potential role as a liaison to this commission. That he does not have probably, I'm not sure, I haven't gone down the road too far with him about his ability to have an administrative staff person as well to do, as you say, the typical staff process or involvement is the creation of the agenda, the creation of the packet, the attending for the minutes, and this is usually a two-person thing. We have that in nearly all commissions. It may be universal now. It's almost all usually. So then there is the coordination of meeting times, meeting space, email back and forth, dialogue between the commission. There's a lot of, it's the true word, it's liaisoning. It's staff support and the liaison piece, staff liaison to the commission. So there is a fair amount. We've over the years tried to quantify what that is, and it's variable. It's not a consistent giant lift, but these are typically monthly meetings, which will then have kind of that monthly cycle of agendas, packets, minutes, and then any assigned work typically is coming from the commission to the council, and then council assigns work to staff. Any commission does not assign work directly to a staff liaison. That's not the role. And actually our chapter 2.10 that I referenced earlier kind of delineates that about the difference there. And then so council does have that filtering role of determining whether or not the advisory body to the council, their recommendations are either moved forward or not.
I did speak to Chief Taomira, who did have a willingness to be on the commission as staff liaison and work under the conditions set forth. Yes, Councillor Seffinger.
I would like to direct staff to look at our commission structure, to look at seeing if we can combine some of our commissions and prioritize city goals with recommendations before any new commissions are made. We don't have a consistent role of what a council liaison is. Some council members attend the commission meetings, some don't. We don't know which commissions really need a liaison to attend. We also have many other areas, RV-COG, the Continuum of Care, the Chamber, AFR, the Senior Center, the Senior Commission. I don't know that it doesn't make sense to look at whether with social equity there's other parts to that could be combined in another commission, like the Housing and Social Services Commission. The same for forest lands in terms of looking at Firewise and AFR and trails. I've been concerned about this a long time because I've ended up being the one that's liaison to most commissions. I've served on all of the commissions except for 2. And last year I served on, I think, 5 or 6. So So I really think that we need to look at the commission structure and which commissions are actually needed by law and which commissions could be under other commissions, and a better way of integrating the work so that the work that the commissions do all look at social equity, all look at environmental and SEEP issues, rather than only looking at a specific part of everything. Livability is about all of that.
Councillor Duquesne.
Thank you, Mayor Akins. I heard what everyone said. I appreciate what I've heard. Council Steffinger, I agree that we have too many councils. They could be combined. I also heard Councilor Graham mention that at said time when this resolution was written, there was not an opportunity to create a commission. However, when I look at then and I look at now and what has happened right here in our backyard, right here in Ashland, I don't even know why we're having a discussion about what we can and what we can't do. Some things are just blatantly needed, and this is needed now. As a member of the BIPOC community, as a member of the queer community, I feel like this is overdue. The resolution that was put together by the previous counselors, I feel like it would make it a living document, and this commission would support it. And it's just not words on paper. I can't say enough about the need for this now. And what I hear and the feedback that I get from people that I know, this would be embraced. I would love for Ashland to be able to spearhead this opportunity for other councils and other municipalities to come on board and show that, Ashland here, we are accepting, we walk the walk and we talk the talk. I can't say enough about how important this is, and this needs to be done now. Other commissions, sure, let's look at them at a later time. But right now, this commission is the focus, and this commission needs to be done. A couple of months ago, a young Black man was killed right here in the heart of Ashland. And once upon a time, I would have said, no, not in our town. A couple of years ago, an actor from OSF. We've had things happen that don't have to happen. And people need to know that we are accountable. And that's one reason why I'm here today, is because I want people to see that Ashland steps up and we are accountable.
Thank you, Councillor Duquesne. Let's see, it looks like we have a few hands up. Councillor Jensen, I'll let you go, and then anyone else who hasn't spoken, and then we'll go back to those who have already spoken. Councillor Jensen?
So I agree to the value of this commission, but a couple things are troublesome. If we do it now, but we don't do it right, it just ends up being another commission that is either understaffed, that is a lot of talk, but doesn't have the structures in place to do the reporting, to do the necessary good work. The other thing too, when you look at the document at the guideposts, it is a monster charge that this commission is being proposed. Racial equity, education and economic opportunity, health disparities, law enforcement, justice and accountability, housing and gentrification, and city hiring practices. That is a significant menu of work. I don't think there's a single commission existing commission that has such a broad reach. And in order to do this right, we are going to have to re-examine the capacity that we have. We're going to have to re-examine our, like Councilor Sethinger said, re-examine the framework of our existing commissions, the effectiveness, the possibility of collapsing some of them, redefining some of their work to free up the capacity and the energy that we have to do this good work. And I'm concerned that if we race ahead with this, that it's going to end up being, when it's all said and done, there's way more said than done. And it'll just be another one of those commissions where people feel ineffective. And then the council is going to take it on the chin for having an ineffective city body with the high expectations and the inability to perform. I don't want it to just be a showpiece. I want it to be effective. And in order for it to be effective, we've got to do it right.
Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken before I call on those? Councilor Hyatt? Councilor Hyatt?
My apologies, Mayor Akins. As I start my comments, I'm going to start by saying we often have these conversations and we say they're uncomfortable. And this is just that. We are there. So I'm going to put forward that fact. I'm going to call it what it is. And I'm going to say that as I speak right now, I'm speaking from a place of vulnerability. And I will do my best because my intentions are certainly well-meaned here. I hear Councilor Duquesne, and she and I have had many conversations over time. And I understand, no, I can't say I understand. I can appreciate the points she has made. I've also received various emails on the topic and Emily Simons at the beginning. And I'm actually very appreciative to Emily because this has been on my mind since receiving the packet. I have read in many cases where anyone can discriminate, but only a small group of people, such as this one, that has the ability to work on policy, can work towards racial policies that are equitable and just. And I feel it's important, the work that's being proposed, but I also feel it is critical that this body does not abdicate its responsibility toward racial equity and social justice. Clearly, I am a white woman with all of the privileges that are unearned that comes with that. But I still feel that when I took my oath last night, when I ran for office, that is a responsibility I want to accept because I want to help. Do I have all the answers? No, I'll say that straightforward. No, I don't. But I want to be part of the solution. I would need guidance in that. I would need guidance in that from people who are far better versed than I am. And I find it's going to be very different from people who are far better versed than I am. And I find it's going to be very difficult for me on this to say yes, similarly as Emily Simon said in the beginning. We can't lose sight of what we've already committed to and what we've already been asked to do. So do I have a defined way forward here? I wish I could be more eloquent and provide an idea that is structured and helpful. But I will say this, clearly, this is something we need to work on. Clearly, it needs to be a priority. Clearly, this body must be involved because we cannot abdicate our responsibility to this. So it is my thinking of how do we do this? How do we do this and bring these ideas together, bring the appropriate emotion and passion to this that moves this community forward and helps us be stronger together? The points about do we have enough staff to support are legitimate. The points about it's overdue are likewise most definitely legitimate. So now I think it's time to marry that in a way where this body maintains the responsibility we have to step up and say, what happened a few blocks from each of us is not acceptable. And that we maintain that responsibility. And at the same time, further the needs of the community as outlined by Councillor Duquesne. So it is my hope that I've communicated my thoughts in a way that is respectful, because I can say with absolute certainty, my comments here on this topic are nothing but. So thank you.
Councillor Moran?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate the comments from my colleagues. For me, I've thought over the years a lot about this. I come from a bicultural marriage. We have bicultural children. So racism, tolerance, equality is something, that we've spoken to our children about, from the beginning. I lived half my life overseas before I came to Ashland. We came to Ashland in 2009. So I understand how important it is to be, to put yourself in the shoes of other people and trying to understand what they're trying to tell you. The previous council made some very good progress in their resolution, very strong progress. And I attach a lot of value to what they did. I look at your suggestion here, and the thing I meant to say when I thought about it a lot, the thing that resonates with me, it is accountable, it has structure and defined goals. I understand what Councillor Steffinger said about, having too many committees. I don't want that being something that determines that we shouldn't do this. The fact that we haven't prioritized that over the years isn't something which should restrict the ability of this committee to function, to try to take a bite of the apple. I would hate to say, listen, we don't want to do this because we're afraid of overachieving. I don't think that should be a goal we strive for. So, taking what people said, I think it is time. I think, what's happened in our community, what's happened in, the United States this past year, gives a lot of people pause to think about how lucky we are and, how do we relate to the people who aren't as lucky as we are. So I will support it. And I really commend you for bringing this forward. I think it's super important.
Thank you. Hang on a second. Several people have already spoken, so we're going to go the second round. Councillor Graham?
Yeah, I think there may be a way forward here with the resolution and the way that we structured it, where it comes back in front of council essentially once a month to check our progress on our tasks. It integrates nicely with the idea of a commission that might move items onto that resolution. So one of the things that we actually need to still talk about is what Ms. Simon brought forward earlier today that Councillor Slattery and I requested to be put on the agenda. But the whole point of that resolution was that it was a living document, that we are routinely in a public meeting checking on our progress, and that we can add things to it. So if a commission were operating and it had things that it felt it wanted council to work on and move on, it could certainly bring that forward in an integrated way. I don't see it as competing or the resolution needing to go away in order for a commission to be put in place. So I think that both of those elements can exist together very nicely. I think, initially when we were drafting the initial resolution, there was a consideration that at some point there would likely be a commission. What was in the resolution were the things that the city could work on within its own systems in the middle of an emergency, in a declared emergency. But there is very real value in certain elements. And I would be inclined to tighten the initial request of this group. Staff has gone back through our HR policies. I think it would be great to have this group of people review those and see if there's anything else that we could do. But some of the elements that are in here, are in the proposal are actually outside the scope of city services. Health and education are not things that the city actually does. And so I would be inclined to tighten the initial ask of a commission so that it is, bringing us actionable items at the city. But my other question, and I don't know, Mayor Akins, if you've had these conversations in the community, is actually around capacity. I see in the proposal that you're requesting that people who have this experience in the community be on this council. And I know that many of them are at educational areas and at OSF and places that are already experiencing significant challenges right now. And so for me, it's a timing question and it's a scope question. But I think, and I would love to have the bigger commission conversation ahead of this, but I don't think it's as necessary. We do need to get that done. But I think this is to Councillor DeCane's point, we should do what we can and what makes sense to do now.
Thank you. And I'll speak to that since and then I'll get to Councillor Seffinger in one moment, but let me speak to the question asked. Yes, I have checked in capacity with the community, and actually I have a long list of people who would hope to be considered prior to even coming to this meeting. So there does appear to be capacity. I also want you to know, Councillor Graham and the rest of council, that exactly was my plan. The idea is that the commission would help enact the resolution, because it's different as a council as a whole. So those things would be working together, and that was the architecture and idea around it. I do affirm what you're saying regarding education and healthcare. I understand that's not within the purview of the city of Ashland. I'm aware of the purview. However, I think those things are relevant within the city of Ashland, and there may be some areas where we can attempt to affect change in a positive way, or at least through this body, we can hear about those things and amplify the voices of those people who have those concerns, which was the thinking as drafting it in that way. And of course, I'm open to any changes to the draft as this body deems necessary. I would also urge us not to have perfect as the enemy of good. This is a draft. It is a proposal brought to you to create this commission. And I would passionately argue that we have among us the first person of color and the first person who is openly gay on this council, on this body, who has said that she would like to be considered as part of this, that she's asking us as the person who speaks for this community to consider this commission. And I think that carries weight. So I would urge you to continue considering this. Councillor Seffinger, yes.
I think the point that I really wanted to make is that I feel that in order to have racial and social equity, it needs to be infused in all of the commissions. There's a part of it that's in the Planning Commission. There's a part of it that's in the Senior Commission. There's a part of it that's in SEEP in terms of helping, being sure that climate change is equally looked at for those that are in poverty. I don't have a concern about having this commission, and I understand the importance of this to our BIPOC community and to our new counselor, and I will support this. But I also look at what Paula said, and the fact that I don't want to just give this away. I think the council needs to be passionately aware of it. I've been on a lot of commissions that just don't really make a whole lot of difference, and so if people are feeling that this will be able to impact all of these things I'm talking about, that's where I see the importance of this. Is how does this impact all of what we do to make this a livable community? How do we get all of these commissions that are working on something to infuse this part of the concern with equity into what they're doing. And that's where I was coming with looking at our commission structure, because I don't see that happening right now.
Thank you for your comments. I definitely think that, I tend to think when it's everyone's job, it becomes no one's job. So we wanted specificity around this being a specific task. And it is, to Councillor Jensen's point, a heavy lift. There's a lot of work there. And the reason for that is we didn't want it to be drafted as performative. So we were trying to keep those concerns in mind. Councillor Duquesne, did you want to speak to this again?
Yes, and I'll be quick. Something that, listening to what everyone has said, to me, this is important for so many reasons. But one of which, it's good to be able to have a space that we as council and city leaders create this, or have this ordinance pass through and create this space for the people of Ashland. And something that Councillor Jensen brought up is the heavy lifting. There are so many people who are very excited and very anxious to see this move forward and see it move forward and happen, and not just be lip service, but to actually put this in motion, working with council, working with the resolution that's already in place. This can integrate so nicely, and we are moving forward towards a solution that I heard Council Hyatt say earlier. And moving towards the solution, this can be integrated in all the other commissions. And then at some point, we will be able, hopefully, to marry different commissions or see what stays and what goes. But right here tonight, we are creating something that's an urgent need. It's overdue. I can't speak enough on this topic. And by having the correct people on this commission, we can get it done. We can do this. And we've never done it before. So to compare it to others, I feel very passionate about this, and we can get it done. Chief Tyomera, he's on board. I'm on board. I hope that you're on board too.
All right, thank you. Yes, Councillor Jensen.
So I have a question, a real quick question of, and then I'm ready to make a motion. Is this motion, so if this proposal is brought forth as in the motion, the motion number one there, it certainly is revisable, and it certainly is, it'll come as a draft, Mr. Lohman, and then the council can work with it and fine tune it as it moves forward. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be correct, just like any proposed ordinance.
So, Your Honor, I'm ready to make a motion.
Sorry, were there other, I want to honor your intention. Were there other comments prior to the motion? Yes, Councillor Hyatt.
I guess I just want one point of clarification that we're not going to lose sight of the requests that are already before us, and that we honor those, in that we do bring back the topic regarding Mr. Ellison as outlined earlier in the meeting, and that is regularly visited however we deem it to go forward. I know that the language is still pending, but I do want to make sure that that we still work to that commitment.
This commission would in no way impact having less dialogue about Aiden Ellison's death, and in fact would enable more dialogue about it and more meaningful motion. I could have called it the Aiden Ellison Commission and actually thought of it. So yes, that is the intention of it. Were there any other comments before Councillor Jensen makes his motion? Do we feel complete on discussion? Okay, very good. Go ahead, Councillor Jensen.
I move to direct the city manager and city attorney to initiate development of an ordinance for the creation of a race and social equity commission based on the proposal provided by Mayor Akins and integrated into the earlier council resolution on social equity, the number of which I don't have in front of me, but I think it's 220- something, and I don't have it in front of me.
15.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion? The motion has been moved and seconded. Would you like to speak to the motion?
I think there's been full and heartfelt discussion. I appreciate all the counselors coming forth on this, and I think I have nothing more to say. I fully support it.
Thank you. Councillor Duquesne, did you wish to speak to the motion?
I'd like to thank the council for hearing this out. It's so vitally important that this ordinance, that this commission be put in place and that we do it right. And I have all faith that we will do it right. And we are moving towards a solution where people will come to the city of Ashland and know that we are working towards a solution for an anti-racist city. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we ready to, oh, sorry, Councillor Seffinger, yes.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciated the discussion and in hearing people honestly talk about why they felt this was important, because I think it has an impact. It certainly had an impact on me. So thank you, Jeannie, for being so eloquent, and Paula.
Any further comments? Yes, Paula.
I wanted to also say thank you for bringing this forward. And I think it's important in these times to be brave in how we step out. And I'm excited is the wrong word, but I'm eager to start the work. And as I mentioned, I definitely feel that this body has a responsibility to it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Very briefly, one of the things I think we should consider, given that it may make sense to keep the charge very broad for the ordinance, but we may very well want to give the new commission a more refined list of where we think the initial priorities might be, so that they don't have to spend so much time trying to figure out what they should work on in this really large space. Of course, in collaboration with them, but I don't want them to feel like they have to lift all of those elements at the same time. So that's just kind of a placeholder for as this is developed.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments, and I do feel confident that as we go about creating the architecture for this, we'll refine it. And I feel confident that the commission themselves will have some input as they go about their charge. So thank you for those comments. Yes, Councillor Jensen.
This is for Melissa. I have that resolution number. So that should read the motion as written and as I stated, and with the add-on, and integrated into the council resolution 2020-15, just for the record.
Got it. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Is there any further discussion, or are we prepared to vote? Okay. Seeing no hand, we do the roll call, please.
Councillor Moran,
Yes.
Graham. Can't hear. Hayek,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Duquesne,
Yes.
Seffinger.
Yes.
Okay. The proposal for an ordinance development for the creation of a racial and social equity commission passes unanimously. Thank you all for your time and attention to this matter.